Good morning, everyone. It is 8:39 right now. Welcome back to CW Iowa Live. I'm Lou. This is Jackie.
Good morning.
And this is our good friend Michael Jankins joining us in studio right now. Now, Jackie, earlier today you were talking about Takata airbags.
We were talking bankruptcy because it was in the headlines, and of course that'll be our topic of discussion here in a matter of moments. But a massive recall has been going on for years now of airbags, and Takata saying we have to file for bankruptcy in order to be able to replace the millions of airbags that they need to. And we were talking during the break, and you said it was just kind of interesting because we're talking about a company that's in Japan, which we don't know if even those rules of bankruptcy apply there like they do here in the States.
Well, they probably have a form or a system of bankruptcy that may be similar to ours, and probably accomplishes the same things, maybe different procedures. The interesting thing is, though, in our country, when companies typically take a big bankruptcy like General Motors did when we had the financial crisis,
right,
and other companies, it's because of money and because maybe mismanagement of money or economic conditions, drove a company into a bankruptcy situation. So when it's financial, you can bounce back because if it's all about money, you get your money back, and you get your flow of operations going again, and creditors reduce debt. I would have thought that, at least to an extent, insurance would have covered many of these things in our country. Companies have insurance to protect them against their products failing.
Right.
And so maybe the extent of this product failure was so massive that they had exceeded any bounds of insurance coverage that they could have had. But when you think about it, it's one thing to bounce back from a financial catastrophe. I don't know how one rebuilds their reputation for building a faulty or poor product that killed people.
Right.
Where there'll be trust from purchasing from this company once again. I would think it would certainly open up the market for competitors to move in and maybe build a better product. So it would be interesting to see if this company can ever be successful again. I mean, if I was running a business, I'm not sure that I'd be inclined to buy their product if there was an option, but that's just me.
Well, it's one of those, I think people hope they stay somewhat successful because they want their airbags replaced, instead of it just closing and saying, oh, sorry, good luck with that situation.
Right.
But let's moving on to what we want to talk about this morning. It goes back to money once again, but what kind of correlates with bankruptcy is also credit counseling. And how do those two relate?
Well, if you are going to want to file bankruptcy, we've been operating under our current set of laws now since October of 2005. Before October 2005, there really wasn't so much rigmarole that people had to go through to file bankruptcy. They just went and saw their lawyer and they filed bankruptcy and got done. But then when Congress got their hooks into it, they created all kinds of additional things that people had to do.
Why did they do that in the first place? Why did they want to get a hold of it?
Well, why does Congress want to do lots of things? Mm-hmm. Because lobbyist money. Mm-hmm. Banks and other people were pushing that the bankruptcy system needed to be fixed. And so it didn't. It was called the Bankruptcy Prevention Fraud and some other act. And I would equate it to voter fraud. There's some infinitesimal amount of voter fraud that may go on in the country, but nothing that anybody really needs to be alarmed about. And so here too, I mean, in the millions and millions of cases of bankruptcy that get filed, are there some bad actors? Well, just like in anything else, of course there are. Mm-hmm. You don't have to shake a system upside down just to fix some minor problem that existed. It wasn't an increasing problem or anything like that.
Right.
But they thought they needed to fix it.
It's a couple of bad apples is all.
And they didn't really fix anything. They just made it more time-consuming and more costly. And most of the goals that they attempted to accomplish didn't work. Again, a common failure of legislation.
Right.
So how did that change things since 2005?
So they thought people needed to go participate in something called bankruptcy credit counseling before they could file their bankruptcy.
Which doesn't sound bad.
It doesn't sound like it's necessarily a bad idea. Maybe they assumed that people weren't aware of what other options would be available to them, because in theory that's what this is for. If somebody could do something as an alternative to bankruptcy, i.e. credit counseling, mm-hmm. well, then that they might be made aware of it and elect, maybe we'll go do that instead.
Okay.
Well, I like to think that most attorneys when they're visiting with clients and review their financial situation, if a person could pay back their debt, they at least bring it up and make them aware. That's something you could do if you chose to. We certainly do that, but it doesn't really turn into that. I mean, this is usually done either on the internet or it's done locally. So many internet companies. So we use one, and then for those people that computers are part of their life and they actually have one, or a laptop or a tablet, I'm finding more and more that people who are tied into the digital age only have it on cell phones, and they don't have computers or laptops or tablets. And so for those people, we also run into people that just aren't in a digital age at all, don't have a computer, never have. So we have our clients call Consumer Credit of Des Moines to do it by telephone. It's a very simple process. But the way it works really is it's just jumping through a hoop. Personally, I don't think anything's being accomplished other than alleviating somebody of some extra money they had before, because for most people, there's a cost to this little adventure.
Oh.
And,
even if you go online and fill it out online?
Yeah. And it varies. I mean, I know the company that I use online, the people pay $20, so a single person pays $20, or if it's a husband and wife doing it in the same session, it's still $20. Now it's because I get a little discount my clients do with this company, and that's kind of why I use them. But so it's not a big fee. And consumer credits, I think a single person, I think, pays $50, if I've got that right. I hope Tom Coates and his group there don't call and say he's got it wrong. And if you're a husband and wife, I think it's $85. And the counselors there, I think, have some discretion based upon people's circumstances that sometimes they can reduce it. Now, across the board with all the agencies, there is, I think, some standards that if you fall within a certain percentage of the poverty guidelines, I think it's like 150% of poverty level. I know the online company we use, and I think pretty much Consumer Credit, they'll waive the fee, so it's free.
Okay.
And I make my clients aware of that if they're using Consumer Credit, that it will probably be free if they fall within a certain income category.
So what happens when you go and either log on or you go see Tom? And what are they going to do?
Well, and people, when they go into Consumer Credit, they can do it by telephone, by appointment, or they can go in person, because some of our clients live quite a distance away and they're not from the Des Moines area, so they can still just call in. And what it really involves is, whether it's online or whether it's talking to a person at Consumer Credit, they're going to review the debts. They're going to kind of go over what income a person has coming in, the living expenses that a person is spending, their customary ones. Now, on the online one, you're really not having any personal discussion with somebody. They give you a lot of information to read while you're on the online one. And then they'll cut and paste a bunch of pre-written recommendations and information for a person to go over. I think it's probably better if you can talk to somebody on the phone and go over things about a situation. But either way, I mean, it isn't something that's very difficult to do. It's just a requirement. You don't
say this is required.
If your case is filed and you haven't done this, and you have to have a certificate that you file with the case is almost dead on arrival.
How long does it take to complete
Wow.
this whole class?
Well, the online one, they say to allow up to an hour. I've helped people do it. It can be done in a half hour. It depends with the person that you're on an online chat with, who's copying and pasting material to read. Sometimes you have to wait on them because they're doing it with other people too. If you're doing it with Consumer Credit on the phone or in person, I've not sat through one. I would have envisioned that it probably could take, on the short end, 20 to 25 minutes, and on the other end, longer, depending upon how chit-chatty the particular individual is. Some people just start pouring out their life story when they're talking to people.
Yeah,
and
everyone's personal scenario.
But the counselors at Consumer Credit are really nice, and they've got useful information to give to people. So, they have a good organization over there, and so people probably, get something out of it more so than what they do online. But the online's a little bit cheaper, so a lot of our clients choose to save a few dollars because
Go that
they don't
route.
have many dollars to spare. But
Right.
it's a requirement, and whether it's useful or not useful or a waste of time, it's got to be done. Otherwise, the case is kicked before it even gets finished filing, just about.
Now you said it has to be done. Is there a timeline on this?
Yeah, well, if you do this counseling, it's good for a limited time period. So we always tell our clients not to kind of do it and then worry about getting their stuff back to us later, because there is a clock that ticks on the validity of the certificate that's issued.
Okay.
And it's got to be filed within 180 days of your bankruptcy being filed. So some people take a long time to save their money, get their paperwork back, or they just procrastinate and don't get things done. And 6 months can go by and it's expired, then they got to do it again.
Do it again.
So we always tell our people, they don't always listen. Don't do it until you're ready to bring back your money and paperwork to us. Then do it the day or two before, and that way there won't be any expirations of the certificates. And we try to keep an eye on it, and we've had maybe one or two in the last 12 years expire, and we filed it and didn't catch it, and we found out that oops.
Found out the hard way. Well, there's something else we want to make sure we talk about that people probably don't know about. It's called a pre-discharge bankruptcy education. What's this all about?
Yeah, so we've got the case filed, and now another requirement before your case can complete successfully is you have to take a bankruptcy class. And just like it sounds, it's a class. Now it's not classes. People call up and go, do I have to take classes if I file this bankruptcy? And
right.
No, it's just one class, and it's not like you have to go numerous times like you're going to high school or something. So it's a 2-hour class. And so at least in our market here, you can only do it online. We used to at various times have some agencies that had a live in-person one, and so we did send some people to that, again, the people that were technologically challenged or didn't have computers. And so, but now everybody's got to do it on the computer, and everybody manages somehow. There's always the library. And so it's got some useful information. My clients over these many years have commented to me that they thought they got something out of it and that it was worthwhile. And I mean, that's the goal of it. People, when they file bankruptcy, sometimes don't want to just be a lost soul out there. They have not figured out what got them there. And,
right.
There's habits that they've had that led them into this direction. And so this class is to help people understand how they can do things in the future in different manners of their life that will prevent them from getting into this predicament once again. And so the online thing basically involves reading a book. They give you a little pre-test before you start, just to kind of see how smart you are before you get into the thing. And it's just to kind of get you into the flow of what you're going to be reading. The company we use is ClearPoint, but there's many companies out there. This book's got 8 chapters to it. I don't know anything about what the other companies do because we only use one, but they must probably be similar.
Right.
And so when a person gets done reading one of these chapters, at least with the company we use, they give them some sample questions, and they're being timed. So once they've fulfilled the 2-hour requirement that legitimizes the course, then they allow them to do the final multiple choice test that you got to take at the end. It's like 30 questions. You got to get 21 right. I looked at one the other day, and it's not really difficult, and nobody has any problems with it. It's not geared to cause stress. So a lot of the things come from everyday life that people are going to know things, and other parts of it, just like in school, if you came to class and the guy or the teacher was talking, they tell you stuff that was, you better have read it to know it.
Right.
Well, they give you a link on each question. If you don't know it, you can go and back to the chapter where it came from and
That's
find
the way to take it.
answer.
Perfect. Well, there's
Perfect.
things you need to know when it comes to bankruptcy, and it's good to go to a professional. If they want to get in touch with you, if they have more questions, how can they do that?
Well, you can call me at 255-1855. We can answer your questions, or you can find me on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com.
Perfect.
Thank you, Michael Jankins.
Thank you.
We will be right back. Excuse me.